Qatar expelled Hamas officials due to concerns about their safety. Influenced by pressure from Israel, the decision follows Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's directive for intelligence agencies, including Mossad, to locate and bring Hamas leaders to justice globally.
The expulsion suggests a deep disagreement, despite Qatar being a financial supporter of Hamas, annually sending millions of dollars to both Hamas and Palestinians.
According to reports, the Qatari authorities have expelled Hamas leaders living in their country. The reason for the expulsion is that they can no longer guarantee their security in their country. They were advised to seek refuge in Algeria, Northern Africa. This is coming after the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave marching orders to their intelligence agencies. He ordered Mossad, Shin Bet, and all the other agencies to find Hamas leaders wherever they are in the world and bring them to justice. Mossad is among the most feared intelligence agencies in the world. Remember their exploits in Dubai a few years ago. Not that their reach is limitless, that they can reach even deep inside Qatar. But remember that these guys, the Hamas leaders, are protected by the Qatari authorities. So why did they expel them? Why did they say, no, it's time. We've harbored you for a very long time. It's time to leave. It must be a deep disagreement between them. Remember that Qatar funds Hamas. They send millions of dollars in aid to Hamas and Palestinians. Of course, Hamas gets a huge chunk of that money on an annual basis. So why did they finally say, no, we've had enough, leave? Just like every country that donates money to humanitarian causes, to alleviate poverty, whatever the country donates money for, they must have a form of influence over the people they donate money to. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it. Just like the United States donates to many causes around the world, they must have a form of leverage or influence over the countries that they donate money to, even if it's not for their own interest. But the fact that they can tell the country, hey, please, can you do this way, even if the United States is not gaining anything actually, but they just want you to do something this way. The donor can also decide where they want you to spend the money on. They will tell you, hey, you can't spend it on this, you will only spend it on all this. If you don't spend it the way they want you to spend, that means next time they won't donate to you. So as it relates to Qatar, during the negotiations between Israel and Hamas for hostage exchange, which of course they played a major role, they were expecting that Hamas would have seized the opportunity to release all the hostages so as to turn the ceasefire to a permanent one. Even their prime minister still kept hoping that both parties can come together and agree on a new ceasefire, which will see all the remaining hostages released. But it seems that they have lost all hope that Hamas will no longer go back to the negotiating table. On reasonable grounds anyway, because going by their last offer, it is completely ridiculous. They are asking Israel to release every Palestinian in their jails in exchange for the remaining hostages, which the Israelis didn't even bother to negotiate or table their own proposals.
We are committed to have all the hostages being released, but also we are committed to stop this war and to stop the bombardment of the innocent Palestinians.
So it doesn't look like both parties will come back to the negotiating table anytime soon. Maybe that's why the Qatari authorities expelled the Hamas leaders. And going by the rate of surrender of Hamas fighters to the IDF in Gaza, you will see that the Israelis don't have any motivation to get back to the negotiating table because they seem to have a very upper hand. According to the IDF, the reason many are surrendering en masse is because they've lost communication with their high command, which means they don't know which order to carry out, they don't know what to do, they've got nowhere to run to. It is better for them to surrender. And losing communication with their high command means that their high command are on the run. They don't even care about communicating and prosecuting the war any further. They are just about saving their own lives. So it means that the strategy of the IDF is working. That's why they had to hit as deep as near the Rafah crossing. According to them, the reason for the hit is to collapse the tunnel network around there to prevent the escape of Sinwar and other Hamas leaders still in Gaza. Also to prevent the moving of any hostage out of Gaza. For Hamas to lose one of their strongest allies in the Middle East, Qatar not only funds them, they also support and house their leaders in Qatar. It means that they have done something really wrong. Likewise, in Switzerland, a country that is known for their neutrality in wars, in geopolitics, in many things, if they break that neutrality and support your opponent, you must be doing something wrong. Yes, the first move by Switzerland was to designate Hamas as a terrorist organization. The latest one is to defund UNRWA. Before their parliament approved the defunding of UNRWA, one of their MPs said this in parliament. It is an open secret that in UNRWA schools they continue to glorify terrorism, incite violence, and promote anti-Semitism. A majority of the National Council has finally recognized this. After this stage, they will now move to the Senate to finalize the defund of UNRWA. During the investigations conducted by the Switzerland authorities to determine how their funds are being utilized by UNRWA in Gaza, they found out that many UNRWA aid workers made racist comments on social media. After initial denials by UNRWA, they eventually sacked the chairman of UNRWA's Palestinian Workers Association and head of an UNRWA primary school in Gaza Strip. They also found out that some of UNRWA workers were actually elected to political positions in the Hamas organization in Gaza. So Switzerland, like all donors who spend millions supporting UNRWA every year, they have the right to decide where their money is going to, how their money is going to be used. They wouldn't want their money to be used in spreading hate or funding terrorism. That was why they had to pull the plug. If citizens are rising up and complaining against what their government is doing, that means their government is doing something wrong. Hamas is the government in Gaza. Palestinians living in Gaza are bravely complaining to the press that when aid trucks enter Gaza, that Hamas operatives quickly move to corner everything for themselves, that at the end of the day, virtually nothing remains for the poor people.
الوضع صعب لا تدخل مساعدات.
ما في المساعدات كلها نازلة تحت. المساعدات ما بيجوا للأمة ولا بيجي للشعب كله.
حج كتير بيوصل اللي بيوصل إشي قليل وبيتوزع هيك بيحكوا.
كله للبيوت إلهم. خليهم ياخدون ولا يطخون ولا يعملوا بدهم إياه حماس.
Notice how the old lady quickly raised her finger. The Al Jazeera journalist wanted to push a narrative that enough aid wasn't getting into Gaza, but she insisted that it was Hamas operatives that corner everything for themselves. At the end of the day, nothing remains for the poor Gazans. Also in this video released by the IDF, you can see Hamas operatives forcefully taking over aid that were donated by donors from around the world. They forcefully took them from these guys. You can see how they care about their own people. This is the problem here. If a group only thinks about themselves, they don't even think about the people they claim to be fighting for, that means there's a problem somewhere. That problem is Hamas. We all know that billions of dollars have poured into Gaza. It would have at least turned Gaza to a Beirut, but that's not the case. All that money, where did it go? It went into construction of tunnels running into hundreds of kilometers. It went into the pockets of the Hamas leaders. Many of these tunnels are now being destroyed by Israel. They are even pumping water into many of them where they suspect that Hamas leaders are hiding.
Anders, good.
So this conflict can actually end this moment if they give up everyone and everything in their possession.